Take two.
Welcome back to Take Two. This is episode 3. My name's Cameron. I am the director here at Shift.
And my name is Alex. I'm the cinematographer here at Shift.
Today we are going to be talking about director and DP and the relationship of the two. So with me being a director here and Alex being a DP, we have a lot of history in videos that we've worked on together. And I don't think we've ever really talked about like the struggles with each other on set, whether, you know, Alex agrees with my vision or like the confrontation side of things. And that's really common. And so even if you're a freelancer and you don't work with a director or DP all the time, it's still good to know the balance and the relationship and the struggles and how to overcome them. So I feel like I don't have anything to you right off the rip of anything that you've done
like
that's
an instance of
Alex pissed me off.
Oh, I wouldn't say we've done anything from my perspective that would make me like upset, but there's been things that I'm just like, I disagree with it and I wish we wouldn't do this, but that's what you want, so I'm gonna do it.
Yeah. I mean, other than whenever you DP, you just don't do your job. Other than that, I think you're doing solid.
Well,
But,
that's good to know. I'll work on that.
yeah, you should. You should just. My advice to you on being a better DP is just to be better at being a DP, which involves being better with the camera.
Okay.
Because
Well,
oftentimes
I'll
you
write notes.
don't remember how to do it. So
That's true.
just putting that out there.
Well, I'll make sure I write that in my notebook of things to do better about.
Yeah.
And for if I have anything for you, I think it would just to do the same.
Just be better.
Be just better. Yeah.
Be better. All right, that's it for this podcast. Be better. Do you have anything to me that is like you've disagreed or been frustrated with? This is straight to yeah, 1,000%. Okay,
No,
good. This is a good time
no,
to talk about it because we don't talk about
That
it.
is true. We need to work on that. No, I think like first and foremost, like a DP director, like your relationship, you should have at least most of the same kind of view on your projects and how you want that to, stylistically, work out. Cause like, not every director DP should work together because they don't always like jive with the same thing.
Yeah.
But an instance, there's a lot of times where in the projects we do, like slow shutter is like part of your like your style, and I think it works with a lot of things, but I don't always agree with like using it.
Okay.
And sometimes it feels repetitive, like slow shutter again. You
Yeah,
know?
for sure.
And so there's been times where I'm like, yeah, this is the right stylistic choice, and other times I'm like, we don't really need to add this. But okay.
No, I get that. I for sure get that. What are the projects? Can you go in depth on each project?
I think it was the Cali shoot. So we did a commercial spec ad for Cali Audio. Was that this year? Like early this year?
That was this year.
It was my first shoot on the Red. That's right. So I haven't been working with you for very long after that. So like this is like, I think like the first time where you're like, we're gonna do this, and I was like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
But I think so we had it's a drumming commercial or whatever, and we had the FX3, and it was just like these fast movements left to right, slow shutter. And I think actually looking at it now, it worked really well. But I think maybe having the shutter not as slow. I think when it comes to slow shutter for me, like when it's too slow, there's not enough detail in the shot to figure out what I'm looking at, and then I'm just like, what is this?
Right.
So I think when it comes to adding that stylistic thing, maybe just like cranking up a little bit so you can kind of get the detail. But I think that was the first time I was like, I don't know how I feel about it.
Yeah.
But then again, I always feel like I don't like it, and then like in the end, I'm like, well, this looks good. So.
Yeah. What would you like recommend or say to other DPs that maybe don't agree with the director and they feel like that they maybe have a better idea or a solution to that shot? How would you approach a director in that situation?
So I guess pre-production or on set, like like going to the side, not just blurting out in front of everyone, and be like, hey, can I talk to you real quick? So I know that you were thinking this. I think that it would be better if we do it this way.
Yeah.
If it's just a thing of stylistic approach, maybe be like, this is why I don't care for this, but if that's what you want to do, we can make it happen.
Yeah.
On the other side, if it's like, you have an idea in lighting or I don't know, whatever it is, and you're like, well, I think there's a more efficient way to do this, then be like, hey, I think this is a better way to do it. And just having that conversation, being upfront with the director is the best way to do it.
Yeah. And I think as a director, I would prefer, I like whenever people bring ideas to the table. Because I know it's like it's my idea. I wrote it. I'm directing it, but it's also only coming from me. So then more people would be like, "Hey, have you thought this through?" And then opening up that conversation also allows you guys to collaborate more and then voice your thoughts and reasonings why. So like if you came to me and you're like, "Hey, I know you want to shoot it this way, but I was thinking, what if we did it like this? What are your thoughts?" If I agree with you, great. And I'm like, yeah, that's a great idea. Let's do that instead, because I think that idea is better. But then that also gives the director a voice to then tell you why he wants to do it that way, which then might also bring more clarity and perspective to the DP that maybe you guys didn't talk about in pre-production.
That's true. Yeah.
Because then I could be like, well, the reason why I was doing this is because this emotion that I want to be felt is going to be shown in that way. Exactly. And so then I'll be able to cast vision over something if I don't agree with what you bring. But like the open communication is really just, I think, healthy for a DP and director. I wouldn't recommend being a DP that just like does exactly what the director says.
Yeah, no pushback and you're just like a yes man or whatever.
Because then at that point you're just a camera operator. You're not a DP. A DP is supposed to be like helping bring the vision to life of what the director's saying, but then like to the whole crew, to the gaffers, to the grip, to composition and stuff like that. And so the more questions you ask or problems you bring up to a director, then it's like you're problem solving, which is basically what filmmaking is you're just constantly problem solving. So, and you can't problem solve alone. Yeah. So
how do you feel about from either side of directing or DPing, when the director or DP is kind of like overstepping and like kind of is taking control of the entire image and story? Like, if I were a DP and said, no, the actors shouldn't say that, shouldn't move here, you should do this, it's like I'm now just doing everything. How do you feel, and how would you go about that?
That's a great question. Dang. I feel like it should be collaborative and not what's the word I'm looking for? Not demanding, but like
sure.
I can't even, that word. The word that I was trying to think of, just think of that, and that's what I was trying to say. But pushing too hard and being controlling, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Being controlling of everything is not cool. So, like, if you're a DP and you're controlling absolutely everything and overstepping into a director's role without communicating to him and asking him first, big red flag. I would not want to work with that person, because it's like, okay, you're just taking nothing that anyone's saying and you're not collaborative. You're not listening to the director. You're not listening to anyone, and you're just doing what you want. So why don't you just go shoot it by yourself? So I would say that, for a DP that would have, things other than a shot and an idea on the acting and stuff, I think that that's still important to bring to a director. So it's not a bad thing, but if you're gonna do it wisely. And like you said earlier, you made a great point of like pulling someone aside. Pulling the director aside and having a one-on-one conversation and not doing it in front of everyone is always important. So if an actor, you think like a DP is like, this line's kind of cheesy, I would want to know that if I'm not seeing it. So then pull me aside and be like, yo, this actor, that line, that's not it. And then let's go from there. And I'll, you got to move fast and think quickly. So I'll either take it or I'll leave it. And so I'll either come up with a solution on the spot and be like, okay, if he doesn't say that, then how can I convey the message in a better way? But I wouldn't recommend a DP going in and being like, I don't think you should say that. Say this instead.
Yeah.
Without the director's approval.
Right.
Is kind of, I think behind his back or just overstepping. So, yeah, kind of like what I said before, just communicating throughout the process.
I think one of the biggest things to avoid having those like differences on set is in pre-production. Like, again, I'm kind of speaking from the DP role of like asking all the questions you need to ask to know what the director's vision is.
Yeah.
If that's lensing, camera movement, is this more of like static, or are we adding handheld, dolly, like figuring out what the story, calls for.
Yeah.
Because like, if it's like you were talking about earlier, you weren't talking about this earlier on the podcast, but earlier we were talking about the Hunger Games.
Yes.
And there's a shot of her like running from the fire, right?
Yeah, in the forest.
And the DP and director decided to do like handheld, like no stabilization at all. He's just running with the camera. And you said it was like super shaky.
Yeah.
But that was the right, stylistic decision for that scene, just to show the chaos and the, the feel in the moment.
Yeah.
So in pre-production, like figuring out what the story is and what is the best tool to convey that story. If it's camera movement, lenses, different things like that. Aspect ratio even.
For sure. And I think that for us, it's a little different because we've been working together for some time. So we kind of understand each other's style and what we're going after. And so we can kind of really communicate that well in pre-production and on set. Yeah. And, you won't be taken back whenever I throw you a curveball on set because you're like, that's typical Cameron. I was expecting that from him. But for people that are working with a director or DP for the first time, what are your thoughts on that? Like, how do you set yourself up for success?
That is always like a hard thing for me, because like I've always like, I feel like I get like scared before set all the time, but like when I'm working with you guys, like the team I'm always working with, it's just like a family that I'm like used to being around, so it feels very comfortable. So working with new people, director or not, is always scary because you don't know how they're going to act on set and, how they're going to do their job. With that, I feel like I'm just, regurgitating everything I'm saying, but always just constantly asking questions to know their view, but also being open to what they have to say. Yeah. Because if,
You're going to start laughing?
No, it just like my brain just literally just like a whole paragraph and then the page went blank.
Kindle died. Kindle died.
Gosh. No, but I think being open to hearing their vision out. Gosh dang, I can't. It just, the page doesn't have words on it right now.
Can't find the charger for it.
Exactly. You don't know, you haven't worked with them before, and you don't know all their ins and outs. Yeah. So learning those ins and outs on set and being open to all them instead of just shutting them down because it's not like, if it's not my way, it's the highway or whatever that term is. It's like, don't be like that. Yeah. Be open to all the new things.
And I think that a healthy perspective and mindset to have is that not all directors and DPs work well together.
So true.
And you kind of have to discern that on your own, just based on how you work. Yep. And I've seen so many situations to where a director and a DP don't work together very well. There was one instance where I was a part of this big set, and it was like a 3-night shoot. So it was like 3 days in a row till like 6 a.m. And it was just a madhouse because it felt like the director and the DP weren't vibing well together to me. Yep. And then the DP took it out on like everyone else. Yeah. And then it was just like everyone's flustered, everyone's frustrated because, they're butting heads. And when the director and DP butt heads, it goes down and trickles into everything and the whole production. And then no one's happy. No one's having a good time, as Zeb would say back there, straight up. Not having a good time. Straight up not having a good time. And so you really learn that in the pre-production process. Yep. So with those two roles, the pre-production area of a production is the most important to build that relationship with a director or a DP. Because if you don't have a relationship with that person and you go on set, it's a lot harder to understand what they're going after when you don't know them personally. And I think that that's something that's kind of overlooked, is building a personal relationship
That's
with a
super
director
important.
or
Yeah.
DP, because when you have that, then you're friends
Yeah.
and you understand each other. So get to know the person before set.
Yeah.
Get on multiple Zoom calls, meet with them in person for coffee, whatever it takes. But just getting to know them is going to help a lot.
Yeah.
Because if you go into it and you don't know the person, then it is going to be could be this dude's just a camera operator and the director's just doing everything, or then the DP's doing everything, director's doing nothing. It just, it gets out of hand.
This makes me think of the Danny Gevirtz latest feature film, I Think I'm Sick. He had the whole behind the scenes series.
Yeah. Great film. Great film.
It's so good.
We went to Chicago and saw it. It's
oh my
amazing.
gosh, it is truly, side note, but like I feel like everyone's first feature, not everyone's, but like it's like, oh, it's like a movie, but it's like it's a solid movie. It's not like it didn't look anyway. But on the like first or second episode of his behind the scenes, like Danny was showing like his frustrations with his DP, and that they weren't working together. Like, Danny was like, we need to get shots done, and it doesn't have to be perfect. I just want to tell the story in the best light as I can. And the DP was like, he kind of wanted to make this commercialized feature where it looks just so good, which is great. But when you have a time crunch, it doesn't work, and there's creative differences. And Danny ended up firing his DP and hiring Carlo, and Carlo and him have worked together before, and they just jived, and they got things going.
Yeah,
so
it clicked really well together.
What's interesting to me, and as I'm thinking, is like I feel like I hear DPs getting fired from feature films.
Yeah.
But like, what do you think about a DP getting fired from a commercial? Like, commercials are probably like 1 day to a week you're shooting.
Dang.
So like, you must really mess up if you're getting fired from a commercial.
Yeah, you really got to know the DP as a director and know that that's the right choice.
Yeah.
Because a commercial can cost a company and client a lot of money.
Yeah.
To where a feature is usually funded by, executive producers and investors and things like that. To where they might have a little time to work with. Even though they're still on a time crunch, they're still, utilizing other people's money and resources. You kind of, it's not recommended, but you could probably fit, and I've never worked on a feature film, so I'm speaking out of ignorance probably, but I would imagine that at a feature, since you have more time and resources, that you can make that decision.
Yeah.
If it's not working out, because it'd probably be better to do it at the beginning, because you have a whole month of shooting, and so do it faster if you're not working well together. But for a commercial, I don't know how I would pull that off.
I think
I would have to just work with what I got.
I was gonna say, like, I think with a commercial, like, there's, like, if you're not driving, that sucks. But like, try to make it work.
Yeah.
Because commercials are normally like pretty fast.
Yeah.
So it's like you're not gonna deal with this person for very long, and you're gonna know, hey, I'm not gonna call that guy again.
Right. Yeah.
So
and that would be just way too difficult. Like I said, you're dealing with clients and clients' money, and they're paying you for a commercial shoot, so they trust you that you're going to pick the right people. So just be better, like we said earlier. Just be better, and just pick the right person from the start.
No, but I think, and we're wrapping this up, but a lot of people are on social media now, and that's where a lot of these director DPs are getting in touch with each other, and so. You want to have that relationship beforehand when you get on set. So showing the world from your social media or your website or whatever, who you actually are, so that like maybe that DP or the director sees a DP's work and like, man, I really like that. Let me check him out. And then you can kind of see who that person is ahead of time. And then you'll start that conversation. Maybe you'll start working so that when you do hire that person, get on set, they're not just some completely different person that you didn't know before. Like, you're like, oh, this is the same person that was on the calls with. Yeah,
because whenever, as like a aspiring director, I definitely look for DP stylistic choices.
Yep.
And I'm like, I like their style, so you should follow that for sure.
Yep.
And as a DP director, show your work.
Yep.
Because people will hire you for what your style is and who you are as a person, being real.
Yep.
But we're going to wrap up this podcast. I meant to do this at the intro, but every episode, the last 2 episodes, we drank coffee, and I think we drank Old Bakery beer in the second episode.
Yeah.
And so every episode we're going to drink a different drink, and hopefully one day one of these drink companies will sponsor us. Today's drink of choice is Casey's Water. And hopefully, Casey's, if you see this clip or see this podcast, you know, you got a bunch of drinks, juices, all of that, water. And
Casey
so,
has like its own like full
gasoline.
brand.
yeah, so
Gasoline.
Casey's,
Gasoline pizza.
send us some drinks, and we'll if you're the first one, we'll drink it forever. So sponsor us, or if you comment on this TikTok clip or Reels clip that Carson posts, we'll make you a free commercial because we're a video production company. And if you comment on this, Casey's,
Yeah.
we'll come for you.
Is Casey's
One
on
last
TikTok?
thing.
Probably.
We do this new segment, and it's a would you rather at the end of the episode for the people behind the camera.
Oh yes,
What is
give
today's
them,
would you rather?
give us something.
Well, we thought we'd make it a little challenging for you.
Oh gosh.
Carson's got it. Locked and loaded.
All right.
All right, Carson, hit us.
Would you rather work on a big budget blockbuster with creative limitations or a low budget indie film with full creative control?
That's easy.
Low budget. Or no, not low budget. Not low budget.
so-
High budget indie film.
No.
Is that the question?
That's not-
right?
No.
Wow, I answered that way
Wait,
wrong.
wait,
Sorry, did
Yeah.
you say, would you reuse your hands? I can see. High budget is on the one side, like high budget, blockbuster, but you have creative limitations.
Oh, creative limitations.
Yeah.
Okay, I misheard the
Or
question.
a low budget indie film, but you have full creative
Yeah,
control.
full creative, low budget.
Yeah, low
Here's
budget
why.
indie film.
First of all, I
would
feel
agree.
like this is true to most. I can't say, like you said, I've never been on a feature or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like when it goes to those high, like super top dollar movies, you're definitely gonna have creative limitations. Like it's
Yeah.
not all sunshine and rainbows. You're not gonna be like able
Mm-hmm.
to do a lot of what you want. So that's just facts in general, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to do that.
Indie film.
Unless,
I would love to
unless
do an
I'm
indie
so
film.
broke that I need money, then I would maybe take
Yeah.
the other one.
Because I would probably be more proud of the indie film.
Yeah, and then if you're more proud of it, it's better work, then you might get to that.
Yeah. The what? What was that?
Zeb's
So-
saying that we need to wrap this up, but I disagree. No, it's not that I disagree. I just think that
Let's talk about that.
Is
Good
the
enough
audio
point.
done? You can talk. Oh. I don't know why. Okay. Anyway, well, thank you for watching or
Yes.
listening to this podcast of Take Two.
If
that's
you
it.
have,
Yeah.
yeah,
You were gonna say something. No,
it was.
say it.
It's fine. I was just gonna say, you know, if you have any questions or comments, you can leave them down below. We would love to answer them and kind of go based off of our podcasts with those questions and
Yeah.
such. So.
All right. See you next time.
Peace.